Welcome back to the whiteboard, Lewis. Let us do this again.
Thank you, Erica. To understand where we are, we need to see where this started. Let us go. Security governance is one of those topics that looks straightforward on a slide and becomes genuinely complicated the moment you step into a real organization. The reason traces back decades to an era when security teams operated in isolation, bought whatever tools they liked, and called it a day. The business eventually asked, where did all that money go, and are we actually safer?
That question is exactly why governance exists. Without a structured connection between security and business strategy, security becomes expensive guesswork. You spend money on the loudest threat of the month, instead of the risks that actually threaten your mission.
Think of governance like the blueprint for a building. You could hire the best electricians, plumbers, and carpenters in the world, but if no one has a blueprint, you end up with outlets in the wrong rooms and pipes that go nowhere. Governance is the blueprint that makes all the individual security work coherent.
The CISSP exam outline for subtopic 1.3 explicitly calls out alignment to business strategy, goals, mission, and objectives as the core of governance. That is not an accident. The exam tests whether you think like a senior leader, not just a technical practitioner.
By the end of this video, you will understand how security plugs into business strategy, who sits in which governance roles, which frameworks map to which contexts, and critically the legal distinction between due care and due diligence that the exam loves to test. Stick around for the due care comparison. In Scene 6, it is one of the highest yield distinctions in Domain 1. Here is who is with me today.
Good to be in the co-host seat for a change. Let us have some fun with this.
Michael here. This is the kind of topic I could talk about for hours.
I'm Nova. I love when the numbers tell a story people miss.
Great team. Let us get into it.
Every organization has a mission, the reason it exists. A hospital's mission is patient care. A bank's mission is safeguarding financial assets. Security must serve that mission, not compete with it. When security controls slow down patient care to the point of harm, you have broken the alignment. The mission is the boss security decisions that cannot be justified in terms of mission support, are decisions that will be overruled.
Goals are the long-range outcomes that support the mission, usually in a 3 to 5 year window. If a financial institution has a goal of expanding into 3 new markets, the security team needs to know that now, not when the first new office opens. Otherwise, they are scrambling to retrofit controls into an environment that was never designed to receive them.
Objectives are the short-term measurable milestones that move the organization toward its goals, the CISSP. Exam tests whether you can distinguish mission, goals, and objectives, and more importantly, whether you can trace a security decision back to one of those layers. If you cannot justify a control in terms the CFO understands, that control is living on borrowed time.
History is full of examples where security was treated as separate from strategy. In the early days of enterprise computing, the mainframe teams ran their own security programs with no connection to business planning. When PC networks exploded in the 1980s and 90s, those disconnected programs could not scale because they were never designed to serve the business. They were designed to satisfy the IT department.
Lewis, that pattern still shows up today. Organizations that treat security as a technical function report to the CIO, and organizations that treat it as a business risk function report to the CEO or the board. The reporting chain reveals what the organization actually believes about security's role.
The analogy I use: misalignment is like putting all your security guards on the front door of a museum while the loading dock has no lock. You are not wrong that the front door needs protection. You are wrong about where the risk actually lies relative to how the business operates.
For the exam, remember, alignment means security priorities are derived from business priorities, not the reverse. Candidates commonly flip this and select answers where security dictates business decisions. That is the wrong mental model. Security enables and protects the mission, it does not replace the mission. When a company acquires another company, it does not just acquire revenue and customers, it acquires every vulnerability, every misconfigured system, and every compliance gap the target organization has ever accumulated. Security governance must be part of the due diligence phase of any acquisition, not something bolted on after the deal closes.
The Target breach in 2013 is the textbook case. The attackers entered through an HVAC vendor that had been onboarded without adequate security controls. Target had acquired that vendor relationship without running a proper security assessment. The cost was $162 million in settlements, and the CEO lost his job.
Divestitures are the mirror image. When you spin off a business unit, you have to cleanly separate the data, the systems, and the identities. Think of it like dividing a shared house into two separate apartments. Every shared pipe, shared wall, and shared key needs to be accounted for and separated before anyone moves out. Leaving shared access open is a data breach waiting to happen.
Governance committees are the organizational mechanism that gives security decisions cross-functional authority. A security steering committee typically includes the CISO, representatives from legal, hours, operations, and finance. Their job is to make security decisions that no single department can make alone, like whether a new third-party integration is worth the risk it introduces.
The ISC squared outline specifically calls out governance committees as a testable concept. Candidates often see a scenario where a security decision is being made by the IT department alone and need to recognize that as a governance failure. Decisions with cross-functional impact require cross-functional authority. That is what the steering committee provides.
Board-level accountability has grown significantly over the past decade. The second cybersecurity disclosure rules now require public companies to report material cybersecurity incidents and describe board oversight of cybersecurity risk. Governance is no longer just an IT conversation, it is a board-level fiduciary responsibility. Wait until Scene 6, when we get into the legal teeth behind that due care and due diligence are where the personal liability kicks in.
The Chief Information Security Officer role did not exist in any formal sense before the mid-1990s. Citibank created what is widely credited as the first CISO position in 1995 after a major hacking incident that cost the bank $10 million. That breach changed how organizations thought about executive ownership of security.
Today, the CISO owns the security program at the executive level. They set strategy, manage risk appetite, communicate with the board, and are accountable when things go wrong. But here is the nuance the exam tests. The reporting line shapes what the CISO can actually accomplish. A CISO who reports to the CIO may find security priorities subordinated to IT operations priorities.
Picture 2, CISO in identical organizations. One reports to the CIO. Every budget request goes through IT priorities, and security is one line item competing with infrastructure upgrades. The other reports directly to the CEO. Security risk lands on the CEO's desk, alongside revenue risk and operational risk. Same title, completely different organizational power.
Michael, the Security Steering Committee I mentioned in Scene 3 sits above the CISO in the decision hierarchy for cross-functional matters. The CISO typically chairs it but does not control it unilaterally. Legal, hours, finance, and operations each bring a vote. That structure prevents security from becoming either a rubber stamp or an unchecked veto.
The data owner and data custodian split is a high-frequency exam concept in Domain 2, but it appears in governance discussions too. The data owner is a business unit leader who decides what classification applies to the data and what risk level is acceptable. The data custodian, typically someone in IT, implements whatever the owner decides. The owner sets policy, the custodian executes it.
That split trips candidates up because they assume IT owns the data. IT is the custodian, the caretaker, not the owner. If a hospital's radiology department stores patient images, the radiology department head is the data owner. The IT team that manages the storage arrays is the custodian. Ownership follows the business function, not the infrastructure. The exam will use scenarios to test whether you know who owns the data versus who merely manages it.
Nova is right, and the steering committee structure also matters historically because it emerged from Sarbanes-Oxley in 2002. Sarbanes-Oxley required public companies to attest to the adequacy of internal controls, which for the first time put executives personally on the hook for security governance failures. That law is the reason you started seeing cross-functional committees instead of solo security decision-making.
NIST released Cybersecurity Framework version 2.0 in February 2024. The major addition was a sixth function, govern. The original five were identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover. Govern sits at the center of the wheel in version 2.0 because NIST recognized that all the other functions depend on organizational governance structures to work.
Think of NIST, CSF as a universal adapter. It does not prescribe specific controls. It gives you a common language to communicate your security posture to executives, auditors, regulators, and partners who may be using completely different tools. The framework is the translator between technical controls and business risk conversations.
ISO 27001 has a different heritage. It traces back to the British Standard 7799 from 1995, which itself came from a Department of Trade and Industry Code of Practice. It became an ISO standard in 2005 and was revised in 2013 and 2022. The key distinction is that ISO is certifiable. Organizations get third-party audited and receive a certification that carries international recognition, something no other framework on this list provides.
COBIT 2019 is ISAC-AS framework. It focuses specifically on IT governance as a component of enterprise governance, where NIST and ISO are security-centric. COBIT asks, is IT delivering business value, and are the risks being managed appropriately? Organizations often run COBIT alongside ISO 27001 because they address different layers of the same problem.
SABSA stands for Sherwood Applied Business Security Architecture, developed in 1995. It is a business-driven framework that starts with business attributes and works down to technical implementation through 6 architectural layers. The exam may present SABSA as the correct choice when a scenario emphasizes architecting security from business requirements downward.
Here is a concrete way to remember when to apply each NIST, CSF when you need to communicate risk posture, ISO 27001 when you need a certifiable management system, COBIT when the question is about IT value alignment and governance metrics, SABSA when you are designing security architecture from scratch and the requirements come from business attributes, not technical specifications.
One thing candidates get wrong, treating these frameworks as competing alternatives where you must pick one. In practice, enterprises layer them. They may use NIST, CSF for communication and risk framing, ISO 27001 for their information security management system, and COBIT for IT governance, reporting to the board. The frameworks are designed to complement each other.
The distinction between due care and due diligence has roots in corporate law that predate modern information security by decades. Courts were asking whether company officers had fulfilled their duty of care to shareholders long before anyone had a password policy. The legal framework migrated into security governance because the questions are identical. Did you do what a reasonable person would do And did you verify it was actually working?
Due care is the standard of reasonable protection. Installing a firewall is an act of due care. Writing a password policy is an act of due care. If a reasonable organization in your industry would implement a control, not implementing it fails the due care standard. The bar is not perfection, it is what a prudent person would do under the same circumstances. Michael, your analogy is the fastest way to lock these two apart.
Here is the analogy that locks this in. Due care is installing a smoke detector in your building. Due diligence is testing the smoke detector every month to make sure the battery works. You can have the detector installed and still be negligent if you never tested it. The act is due care. The ongoing verification is due diligence.
The Caremark decision from 1996 is the legal anchor here. The Delaware Court of Chancery held that corporate directors could be liable not just for making bad decisions, but for failing to implement oversight systems in the first place. That established the modern principle that having reasonable controls is due care and continuously monitoring those controls is due diligence. The CISSP exam tests exactly this distinction.
Nova, what the Caremark case really established is that ignorance is not a defense. You cannot say you did not know about a vulnerability if you had never implemented the monitoring systems that would have detected it. That is a failure of due diligence, the failure to investigate whether your due care measures were actually working.
The exam trap is reversing the definitions. Candidates who have memorized the words but not the logic select due diligence for an implementation scenario and get it wrong. Lock in the pattern. Care equals doing, diligence equals verifying. If you forget everything else from today, remember that.
Drop this in the comments. In your organization right now, which do you think is stronger, your due care on implementing controls or your due diligence on verifying they work? Most practitioners I talk to say implementation is stronger and monitoring is where things fall apart. We would love to hear where your org actually lands.
Let us bring it all together. Security governance is not a bureaucratic exercise, it is the mechanism that turns security from a cost center into a business enabler. When security aligns to mission, goals, and objectives, every control decision has a clear business justification behind it.
Organizational processes, acquisitions, divestitures, and governance committees are where governance gets tested in the real world. A security team that is not embedded in M and a due diligence or in the steering committee structure is a team operating without organizational authority. Candidates often see scenarios that ask them to identify exactly this kind of governance failure.
The role landscape CISO, steering committee, data owner, data custodian traces a clear chain of accountability from the boardroom to the server room. Lewis has seen these structures evolve from Active Directory HARC security teams in the 1980s to board-level oversight committees mandated by regulation today. The trajectory is always toward more formal accountability, not less.
NIST, CSF, ISO 27001 COBIT and SAPSO are not competing answers, they are tools you select based on context. For communication and risk framing, use NIST. For a certifiable management system, use ISO. For IT value alignment and governance metrics, use COBIT.
And due care versus due diligence implementation versus verification is one of the most testable distinctions in Domain 1. Do not reverse them. Care is the act of doing. Diligence is the ongoing verification that what you did is still working.
Drop this in the comments. In your organization right now, which is stronger, your due care on implementing controls or your due diligence on verifying they actually work? Most practitioners find implementation is solid, but monitoring falls apart. Let us know where your org actually stands.
Quiz time, let us see what you have learned.
All right, quiz time. Let's find out what's stuck. Think through each question carefully before you answer.
A like and subscribe takes less time than reading this sentence. Do it now and help us reach more learners.
An organization's CISO reports to the CIO rather than the CEO. Which governance concern does this most directly raise? The correct answer is C. Security priorities may be subordinated to IT operational priorities.
A security team installs firewalls across all network perimeters, but never runs vulnerability scans or penetration tests to verify their effectiveness. Which standard has the organization failed to meet? The correct answer is B, due diligence.
A company needs to communicate its cybersecurity posture to regulators, partners, and executives using a common risk language without committing to a specific set of technical controls. Which framework best fits this need? The correct answer is D, NIST Cybersecurity Framework.
Nice work on those questions. The governance layer is foundational. Everything else in domain one builds on top of it. Security that is not connected to business mission, goals, and objectives will always lose the budget argument.
The two definitions to carry out of this video. Do care is the act of doing what a reasonable organization would do to protect its assets. Due diligence is the ongoing verification that what you did is still working. Implementation versus verification. Never reverse them on the exam.
And on frameworks, NIST CISSP for speaking the same language across the organization. ISO 27001 when you need a certifiable system. COBIT when the question is about IT value and governance metrics. SABSA when you are architecting from business requirements down. Each has its lane.
The next video covers subtopic 1.4, Compliance, Laws, and Regulations. That is where GDPR, HIPAA, and the full legal landscape enter the picture. Watch the next video in the CISSP playlist to continue building Domain 1.
If this series is helping you build real CISSP confidence, subscribe so you do not miss any of the Domain 1 deep dives. We cover every subtopic at the depth the exam actually requires.
History teaches those who listen. Until next time.
Think in pictures, and the answers follow.
Read the spec, know the standard, own the exam.
History teaches those who listen. Until next time.
That was a strong episode, Lewis. The students are in good hands. Professor Erica, signing off.